Hey, Christine here with another cute, quick, and simple card I made using my Cricut. Today I carry on with my Created Critters 2 series, and this turtle is the next one on the booklet, except this is my result, and I am not too overly thrilled about it. I love the paper, and I just don't like how my liquid pearls turned out, and I'm really not happy. Although the turtle is really cute, I really don't like the way the pattern is on it. So what I decided to do is do a card very similar and try it again. So the problem is that I used the linen closet. I have a very small paper pack, and I ran out of the papers I was using. So this is typically what happens when I finish a card. This is all the little scraps and pieces that are left over, and I really don't know what to do with. So what I decided to do is do some patchwork with the scraps, and this is going to be my top layer background. So what I did is I took all of these little pieces that were left over and I cut them out by 1 inch by 1 inch, and I just did a pattern and I put them together. So let's get started with my new card. I just started out with plain white cardstock, and 8.5 by 11 cut at 5.5 inches, folded in half, gave me my typical A2 size card. I'm just going to take out the liner. Okay, from there, as I said, I used the linen pack, and I went with this really pretty glitter paper that comes from the linen closet, and it's cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm just going to take my ATG gun and I'm going to add that to the center of my page. Okay, just about like so. Alright, then as I said, this is my top layer. It's a little bit different compared to the other one. The problem is that I didn't have any more, I'll bring back the first card, of the paper, this beautiful honeycomb pattern. I used the bulk of it for this card, and I didn't have enough left over. What I did have left over was a smaller piece, and it didn't fit into the card like I wanted. So this ended up being my liner. So as I said, I patchworked 1 inch by 1 inch squares. So I started out using a piece of paper that's 4 inches by 5 inches. So what I did is I cut out all my square, I determined my pattern, I glued it all down, and then cut each side off 1/4 inch so it centered everything, and then it totaled my typical 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, and I just stamped "What would I do without you, thanks," because I need this card to be a thank you card. So again, I'm just going to use my adhesive, and I'm going to put that in the center of my base that already exists. Okay, I did use some linen thread in the first one, and I decided not to use it in the second one. Hopefully I didn't... all my little flowers that I'm going to be using, I just lost them all. Oh well, I'll get them back after. Okay, so next I ended up going to do my turtle, except this is my turtle, and if you just put him straight down, he gets too blurry in the pattern, too lost. Although it's the same colors, I need something in the background. So what I did is I went to Elegant Edges, and at 3 1/4 inch on page 51 is this shadow button, and I cut it at 3 1/4, and then a top layer at 3 inches, and I turned it so it comes out this way, and I turned it sideways, and I got something so puts in the background so that my turtle can go on top. Now, the reason I didn't use the linen thread is because this one is going to be adhered straight down. Had I raised it on Pop Dot, it would have been a good option, but I decided to raise my turtle instead. So what I'm going to do is, again, use some adhesive, and I'm going to put that in the center of the patchwork. So right about here. And what it does, it doesn't show some of the lines in the patchwork, but it gives a focal point as well. And it doesn't, you know, take too much room. It still shows the pretty paper in the background. All right. So my focal image is this cute little turtle. I didn't want to make a St. Patty's Day card. Same thing with the little inchworm that's next, and that's going to be in purple, so I'm very excited about that one. So on page 38 is this cute little turtle. I started out not putting the hat on, and then I changed my mind. So you can, if you want to cut out the eyes and the mouth, then you would use this as the base, and then you start putting your layers. I did not. I wanted to use little gems. So I cut, actually I ended up using this base and not this one. I cut it at 2.5 inches, and I'm going to add the face on myself, and then I did the layer at 2.5 inches. Now I didn't want the buckle. I ended up using tiny little flower punch that I had. So this is what he looks like. He's only raised on Pop Dots. Everything else is put flat. And instead of the buckle, as I said, I used some flower. I have a small flower punch. You can also find it in many Cricut cartridges at 1/2 inch. So I just added some gems for some eyes, added those little flowers, added a little bit of gem for some speckles on his back. And because he was kind of plain, I ended up taking a jelly roll pen that has glitter to it and just went around the edges. So as you can see, I raised it on foam tape or Pop Dots, whatever you have available. And I'm just going to put that in the center of the shape that I took from Elegant Edges. As you can see, it kind of hangs over. It doesn't matter. I didn't want it to be perfectly within that center. I just wanted something to break up the patterns, and so the turtle went on top, so you focus back on him. I think he's really cute. I could have done a little face, like a little smiley face, but I left him alone. And that's pretty much the basis of my card. I thought it was a little bit of plain, so I cut out some flowers, which I'm just going to use my two-way glue, and then I added a little extra gem on them. And I thought I was going to do 2 corners with a pretty pattern of 5. So I don't know, just like so. And then I just added a tiny little gem on it. And it just, you know, added a little bit of bling and a little bit of extra something to break up the card a little bit. So just like so. Okay. Oops. Sticky fingers. And I am going to repeat the pattern in the top. Alright. And that'll about do it. And then there's one here. Okay, I'm just going to put one more. I'm wearing a robe, and I think the robe has kind of taken one of them away. Anyways, you get the drift of what I'm doing. So I'll probably add another one here and another one here. And then I showed you briefly a little bit of the liner. Again, I have so many scraps I didn't know what to do, and I don't want to waste this pretty paper because it is so pretty. So I just stamped another singing, and I added a little bit of whitish or light so that you can write on it, and just added some extra paper, and that's just going to go in the middle to finish my card. So that's it pretty much, and I'll show you quickly the first one. and just kind of show you variety and what you can do and how you can play with your images, because sometimes they just don't turn out quite like you wanted them. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.